So my name is Shauna Hughes. I'm the Global VP of Alliances for a company called Gimpact. We are a GSI, or a Global Service Implementer. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for about 20 years, multiple roles throughout the ecosystem. So again, it's a pleasure to be here with you today, and looking forward to not only helping you to learn a little bit, but also learning a little bit from you all as well as I navigate the grounds of this glorious event. All right, so setting the stage for Prompt Builder. Prompt Builder, I don't know, a show of hands, how many people are familiar with Agentforce's Prompt Builder? Oh, wow, that was more than what I was expecting to see, actually. Usually I don't see that many individuals who know a lot about Prompt Builder. But Prompt Builder is really the way to take action within Agentforce. It's a blank canvas right now, and I actually just attended a session yesterday with the Prompt Builder experts, and there's actually going to be a little bit of amazing, features and functionalities that's going to be released, and I'm sure you'll hear a lot more about that once you go into the sessions today. This is a little bit of a rhetorical question. It is, what do you believe is the secret to a good prompt? Now, the reason why I asked this question at the beginning of my session is just to get your brain in the right space to understanding what prompt building is and why it's important to learn how to be, I would say, a prompt engineer. This is a little bit newer functionality to Salesforce, so making sure that you understand what is the secret to building a really good prompt. Now, again, keep that in your mind as I go through this presentation, because I'm going to ask again at the end of the presentation, and I want to see or hear a little bit more from you in the audience. All right, so understanding the basics of a prompt. So when we talk about prompt building, we talk about the templates, data integration, and customization. Now, these three tiers or pillars are really important because templates are what is used to essentially store your information. It's what's used to exactly congeal the information. That way your prompts, you can build prompts that are essentially good throughout your org. You're not building individual prompts all the time. You're building templates where you can build upon. Just think about it as like building blocks. And I apologize, I'm a little flustered, so my words may be coming in a little bit faster. I'll try and slow down a little bit for you all as well. The data integration piece of it seamlessly integrates into your Salesforce org and other data sources that you choose to integrate with the Salesforce platform as well. So when you think about merge fields, things of that nature, when you think about Apex, API, pulling in data from different data sources, that data integration piece is seamless. And then when we talk about customization, and I like to think about when you're looking at the prompt builder canvas, you can essentially write anything you want, right? There is no limitations to how you dictate how that prompt is built. You want to make sure, though, that you're using some framework that we're going to go through as well. But customization is, it's all about your imagination. It has no limits. Now, when we talk about the structure of building the prompt itself, we all know that you need instructions, you need context, you need some example responses, and you need some constraints. And you may also think of those as like guardrails. So I know guardrails in Agentforce are built specifically in the guardrails section of the platform. However, you can actually put guardrails within the prompt itself. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as we go along as well. When we talk about the instruction, a lot of people, or I shouldn't say a lot of people because I don't want to generalize, but some people that I've walked through with prompt building, they don't really understand how to articulate those instructions. They don't really understand how to tell it what to do. I liken it to being a mother, and you have to give, step-by-step instructions, mother or father, I apologize, or should I say parental figure. You have to give step-by-step instructions and very detailed, very concise instructions on what you want the child to do. So think about that when you're giving instruction to the prompt as well, the prompt builder as well. When you think about context around what it is that you want this prompt to be able to do, context is key because you want to set the stage for the prompt. The prompt is only as smart as you make it. Of course, it has, machine learning, it has all of the AI capability, but you're actually telling it what to do, why you want it to do it, and how you want it to do it. So giving it context. For example, you're a sales rep that's sending out an email to prospects. That's context. You're, let's say you're a personal shopper and you're giving, these individual customers, your expert knowledge, etc. So you kind of get what that context is. And then providing example responses as well. Like this is how a sales prospect would respond. This is how, a secret shopper, so to say, would respond, so that it's building upon what it already knows and making itself smarter as it goes along. Now, prompt structure, again, most of you, I did see a lot of hands raised. Prompt structure is important because, of course, you are building out the information that's going to set the tone for the responses that you're giving your customers, your employees, etc. But if you know anything about how the actual canvas is currently set, you already know these steps. You already know where you're looking at the prompt template information. You already know how you're pulling in object information. You already know within the canvas you can pull in input fields or data fields from within your org. So you already have that information. But it's important to know that you can also build out additional features within your prompt template to be able to access different parts of your organization if you have Data Cloud enabled. Now, Data Cloud is important. I'm not going to sit up here and lie to you and say it's not. A lot of people will say, oh, you don't need Data Cloud, for Agentforce, for Prompt Builder, et cetera. You do. You really do. If you really want it to be meaningful and you really want it to be intelligent, Data Cloud is a very important piece of the puzzle so that you're able to confidently build out these prompts for it to be able to respond and accurately give context around what you're trying to do with your agentic solutions for your organization. So I don't know if everybody got a picture of this, but just, again, a little bit of insider information. The prompt builder will be changing. They have some enhancements coming to the feature set, so it's important, for you to know Salesforce does 3 releases a year that does all the updates and things to the platform. I like to say that the prompt builder is going to be significantly changing to be more user-friendly. I'm actually excited about the changes because right now, as you can see in the canvas, it's a lot of free text. You have to, label it. This is the instruction. This is the context. However, you're going to be able to have information in the system in blocks where it walks you through that. I think the system is actually going to be a little bit better readable. I wish I could have got you some screenshots, but they wouldn't allow us to take pictures. So you'll be seeing that in, I would say, the next month or so. All right, effective prompts, effective questions for your prompts. So really, what's the goal of the prompt template, right? I like to always say you start with what you want first. What is the goal that you're trying to reach? When you're building out this prompt template, what do you want from it? So you want to start there. Start with, why am I doing this? What do I want it to, what result do I want it to have? Start at the end, like what's my end result? So you want to declare your goal. That's a very important piece of it because if you don't know where you're going, how are you going to give it instructions to get there? So very important. This is a template of something that I have available for a lot of my delivery individuals who I'm no longer hands to keyboard. I like to learn about the technology in my own time, but no longer a lot of hands to keyboard. However, I do like to help my, delivery team when new features and functionalities come out, because it actually helps me to stay in the know, of course. But I give this template out to say, hey, we're trying to build a prompt template. What's the business case? Why are we doing this? What is the business value? What are they going to get from this? Again, I work for an SI, so we're building this out for so many different individuals. Also, just to let you know, so you're not like filling up your phone with pictures, I think you're going to be able to download the slides after the sessions. I believe so, but if you want to take pictures, that's fine. Oh, you already downloaded. Awesome, that's great. So you want to be able to have some type of structure if you're a solo admin, an engineer, whatever it is, you want to have some type of structure to be able to kind of like map this out, draw out your process. Building out a process is very important with these new agentic solutions. So this is just something, kind of like a template that we like to work with. Might give you some ideas, examples, etc. Because when we talk about like actions and things like that, that's a whole nother kind of like, I like to call it like object of prompt building. It's separate from the prompt builder itself. However, it gets, they're all connected. So making sure that you understand how that process flows is very important. Okay, and then we talk about who's involved. This is actually a real life example, by the way. When we actually talk about like who's involved, who are the people, we need the prompt builder needs to understand who they're talking to, right? Like who is the AI actually talking to? What's the persona? How should they address this individual? So you can see, in one box you have the why, and then I give you a little bit of an example. So again, you're talking to a sales, manager at whatever company, et cetera, et cetera. So it pulls in these data fields. It also pulls in your merge fields within the organization as well. So making sure that, you're setting the stage and you're speaking in a tone and context in the proper manner to the proper recipients. Okay, so you don't want to be extremely jovial to someone who's irritated or upset. It's just going to piss them off. I'm sorry, it's going to make them more upset. So you want to make sure that you are, again, providing that setting. Okay, next question. What's the context of the prompt template and the response? Okay, so essentially, you're giving it context. You're a sales agent interacting with a customer over chat or over the phone, over email. You want to tell it exactly what channel. You want to be as precise as possible. It's very important because if you're on chat and you're talking about an email, of course, it doesn't look good for your organization. So this is just, like free, again, in the prompt template, this is just free text field. You're just telling it exactly, what you want it to do. Generate an introduction email to your prospect. Indirectly encourage the prospect to respond to your email. Now to me, this is like a little bit challenging, right? If you don't know, again, the context behind what you're trying to do, you don't know the end goal, and you don't know the persona in which you are building these agentic solutions for. So it's important for you to understand that as well. Okay, so what guardrails does this prompt template need to succeed? Again, those guardrails are really important because you don't want to be creating a prompt template that's just gonna, I love the terminology guardrails, because you don't want to create a template that's just gonna go off the rails and just do whatever it wants to do. You want it to stay within the context of why you're building this prompt template, how it's going to engage with your customers or your employees. And you want to tell it exactly how you want it to communicate. So use clear, concise language, et cetera, et cetera. Again, free text, these are things that you need to know to be able to build into the prompt template. Most people, if they've never done this before, this is going to be a process of trial and error. They don't know that they should use this terminology. Use clear and concise. Like, why do I have to tell it to do that? Because the natural language processing, it's still learning. It's still trying to understand how to communicate and why you want it to communicate in that way. Okay? So using guardrails, it sticks to specifically what you want it to do. Okay? It won't go outside of that unless you give it instructions or prompt it to. Okay, so let's recap those specific questions. What's the goal? Can anybody tell me what the goal is? Like, why would you set a goal? Anybody?
So it knows where you're going.
Exactly. So it knows where you're going. You actually want to understand exactly what it is before you set up the prompt template, so you know exactly what to build. And then why do we need to understand who's involved? Yeah, so the question was, why do we need to know who's involved? The answer is because it helps sets the tone, so we know exactly who we're speaking with, how we need to speak to the individual, et cetera. Also knowing who's involved allows you to pull in those merge fields as well. Makes it smarter, makes it more engaging, et cetera. Okay? Why is context important? Providing the prompt template with context. Anybody? You're gonna have to be a little louder, I'm sorry. So it was so you don't irritate a frustrated customer. That is absolutely correct, but providing it context also allows it to become smarter, right? It is actually speaking in a manner in which a human would speak. And I'm sorry, you said something else? Oh, you said something.
I said it helps it stick to the relevant facts.
It helps it stick to the relevant facts, which is factual. And it helps us all to stay within the parameters of the certain conversation that we're building out. And then why do we need guardrails? Why do we need guardrails? Anybody? I know you guys really haven't had a lot of coffee this morning, but come on. You can do better than this. This is a learning conference. So it doesn't share sensitive information or do things that it shouldn't do. That is absolutely correct. Guardrails, again, provides those strict commands of which it should stay within those rails and not go off the rails. All right, so we need to remember that effective prompts are scalable and they work with the LLM. So they work, again, with the LLM. They don't work for the LLM. They get their information from the LLM, okay? You can pull in different types of LLMs. I know Salesforce is working with multiple different types. I think like their partnership with Google is now, been, I guess, officially signed, where Genie is going to be another source. We already have OpenAI, and I'm sure there's going to be many, many more. But making sure that you understand that you can pull in any types of data that you want to within your system, if you so choose. And if you do that, I highly suggest building very, very stringent guardrails. All right, so ground the prompt templates with Salesforce resources. I know we talked a little bit about this, having those Salesforce resources, but we didn't talk about how it helps ground those prompt templates. Salesforce resources are important. So you have all your data in your Salesforce org and different objects and different fields, et cetera. That will help ground these prompt templates. And can anybody tell me what grounding means? Anybody? Can you, a little louder? I'm, Thank you. I apologize. Retrieving relevant business data, which is absolutely correct. You're grounding it in the data that's within your org, so you're making sure that all the information that you're pulling into this template is relevant to, the context, to the prompt template that you're building, okay? All right, so you can ground your templates with record merge fields. A lot of information there, we already know. You can ground your template with objects themselves. There's so much information that you can utilize. So this is an example of a sales email where I highlighted the fact that you can ground it with those merge fields or those fields that's within your org. Specifically, this one would be, when you're building the prompt template, it would be a contact that you would be using. You want to make sure, you pull in the name, you pull in the email, the company information, etc. And then you would tell it exactly what you want it to do with that information, okay? So this is what, I'm gonna go back one, I apologize. So this is what you would tell the prompt, this is how you would build it, and this is what a result of that prompt would be, okay? And actually, because I think you said you already have the slides, you can actually take this information, copy, paste, put this information into a prompt right now, and when you preview it, you should get something similar to this. If you're using those same merge fields, obviously it's going to be different names, different company, etc. But you should get something similar. Additionally, I was playing around with this, and I actually entered this information into ChatGPT and just wanted to see what it would do, and it gave me almost the exact same thing. So anyway, pretty cool that there's some consistency across platforms there. Another way that you can ground your data is with Data Cloud. And I know Data Cloud is a hot topic for many organizations right now, and grounding it with, RAG. So I know RAG is a little bit of a newer terminology for a lot of us Salesforce, professionals, but it stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, and it allows you to pull data that is structured and unstructured from different data sources utilizing Data Cloud, okay? And Data Cloud, I think, is one of the greatest features with Agentforce that has come out from Salesforce in a long time. Little plug there for Salesforce, but super great. So this is what you can put into the prompt builder as your instructions and also those data fields if you have Data Cloud actually enabled in your org. Again, not everybody has that possibility right now, but if you have Data Cloud enabled in your org, you can be able to use this as well. Now it does take a little bit more configuration when you are working with Data Cloud to be able to make sure that those data sources are pulling into the prompt templates correctly, etc. But it is there for you to work with. I highly recommend, if you do have Data Cloud or if you have foundations where you can go and play around with it, please go ahead and do so, because you're going to see the power of what you can do with the platform, with being able to build out these templates from different data sources that are not, that data is not housed within your org, but housed outside of your org as well, okay? So I wanted to do a demo, but it doesn't look like it's gonna be able to let me do that. I apologize, I feel bad about that. But what I can do is explain what the demo is gonna look like. And again, I highly apologize, technical difficulties. But essentially what I was gonna show is how that, the RAG works. What I was able to do is take a data file, save that data file within Data Cloud, upload the information, and then be able to build a prompt template that actually referenced that data file, and it essentially referenced the org information, and also this was built upon a order that I had placed, and it would pull back just the order number, customer name, etc. I was going to show you that in the prompt template, in the preview state. Unfortunately, can't do that. I apologize. But if you find me a little bit later, I can go ahead and show it to you if you would like to see it. I also want to talk a little bit about grounding your templates with Salesforce in different manners as well. So there's multiple different manners that you can ground your templates with. I want to make sure that you understand that grounding your templates are important because it really sets the tone on where the information is coming from and how accurate and consistent that information is. So you have all of these, different types of grounding capabilities that are available to you as well. All right, so I'm gonna ask you the question again. What do you believe is the secret to a good prompt? And I know I've just been chatting, so I would love some audience participation here and would love to hear from some of you. What do you think the secret is to building a good prompt? Declaring a specific goal for the output. Definitely. That's definitely a big one. Grounding, context, and guardrails. Perfect. Anybody else? Yes? Don't forget who's involved. Exactly. Anyone else? Provide a setting. Perfect. Anybody else? No? Okay, go ahead. Providing clear, simple instructions like a teacher to a student. I love that. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to role play sometimes when I'm building these things out. I know it seems kind of weird, but I like to role play because it helps you to understand I'm acting as the AE or the sales rep and my counterpart is acting as the customer. And we're having a conversation. I didn't touch anything. Yeah, weird. And we're having a conversation. I guess they want me to end, but it still says I have time. Again, technical difficulties. And we're having conversation about how I want to engage my customer. This is really amazing because it helps bring out things that you may have never thought about. You may have never actually even considered that it was a possibility that your customer might ask you this question. So it helps you identify situations. So I think a lot of the things that we're going to be doing, I think a lot of the things that we're going to be doing in the future is a lot of being able to communicate essentially with each other, which we haven't been doing for the past decade, I'd say, and say, how would you react if I sent you this? Talking to our colleagues, doing role play, looking at situations from the outside in, like if I was this individual, how would I respond or react? So this is important for us to be able to understand what's really happening and how we really need to build that template, how we really need to inject those merge fields and also the context behind what we're trying to build, because it helps you to understand this is how my customers are going to react. Highly, highly recommend that when you're building these prompt templates, that you're releasing them to your colleagues first. And you say, play around with this. How would you interact? Always testing, revising, testing. It's really important because the craziest things happen, right? When you release something to production and you're like, the system doesn't know what to do because you never thought of that permeation, right? The customers will always break your system. So making sure that you're testing, revising is going to help you to build a better, system overall. I know we all know that as being developers and admins, but I think it's really important today. Now, I'm going to open it up for Q&A. If you have, there's a mic in the middle of the room. It allows for everybody to hear your questions. Would love to engage with you if you want to ask any questions, but that essentially completes this prompt builder for beginners. And I really appreciate you all for coming out today. If you can't stay, I understand, but I would love to hear a little bit more from you all with questions. Yes. Can you come up to the mic? I'm sorry, I'm gonna.
Hi, thank
Hi.
you for the chat. It was
Yes.
really good. In a project that we are currently using, Agentforce, we have found out that giving in the prompt, giving an example of a good response and an example of what a bad response could look like is actually being effective. Have you tried that? Would you recommend it or not?
Yes, I do highly recommend that. That's something that I didn't mention, but it is actually something that I do highly recommend. Giving an example of a good response, I don't know if everybody heard him, and a bad response really helps the prompt template to be able to respond in like manner to how you want it to respond to your end user. Additionally, it provides it with that additional context as what would be incorrect and how to respond as well.
And the other thing is, this is gossip, but at some point, everything in prompt building is gossip. Mm-hmm. We have found that positive instructions are more helpful than negative instructions. In the way, do this is more effective than telling, do not do this other thing.
Yeah, I think that you said that's in instructions.
No, in the prompt.
Yeah, in the prompt instructions where you're telling
Yes.
it. Yeah, so I would say that's probably because, and I'm not a part of the product team, but that's probably because the do not is really affiliated with the guardrails. Like we don't want you to go outside of X. So it's really that positive instruction, like you said, is a very, very good, piece to have in the instructions piece. But when you're labeling, your subheadings for your prompt, the guardrails is the place where you want to put like do not contact or do not gather an email address, etc.
Thank you.
Thank you.